think it's interesting that the US government holds over 90% of the world's government's treasuries in Bitcoin. It's an interesting point.
Why would you hold something that you'd have no interest, right?
Exactly. I don't have a degree in finance. I grew up in a household where nobody really knew anything about money. I think crypto adoption at the moment is sitting at about 6.8%. So, we've got a long way to go, and we're going to need those centralized exchanges. We just wanted to create something that was simple. We insure our swaps and bridges. So if you're supposed to receive, $100 worth of BNB, you actually get $100 worth of BNB, and it's fast. Anything I've had a passion for, I've kind of turned it into a business at one point, and I think that that's a mindset of real builders. I know so many people who want to be entrepreneurs or start their own business, but it's that analysis paralysis that really keeps them stuck.
I came from e-commerce. I had businesses on Amazon, but then when I came to the blockchain and investments, I found totally different brains, and that was fascinating. How do you see money? What was money for you?
It changed. Obviously, it changes over time. We didn't have financial stability when I was young.
$1 million in 6 months or 20 million in 10 years?
$1 million in 6 months.
Why?
Coming from the crypto space, you book your profits. Danny, you know that. That's like rule number one. I think the best crypto deal of all time is rumored to be something like if you'd bought $13,000 worth of Shiba Inu, it'd be worth like $5 billion at the end point.
What's up, Iron investors? Welcome back to another epic episode, ICN.talks, the podcast where we aim to interview C-level executives, founders, real builders in our industry. And in today's conversation, we brought to you a very special guest, Lisa Belden from Liquid Crypto. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and welcome to ICN Talks for the first time.
Thank you, Danny. We were only sitting and having coffee, 2 days ago, so I feel I feel like we're still in conversation.
Yes, indeed. We are still at that table, and we can continue that conversation.
Yes, I think actually we started some very interesting topics before we had to go. So yeah, I'd love to pick up where we
Please
left
go
off.
ahead.
Well,
What's in your mind right now from that talk?
well, I was thinking about, you raised a question with me about the story of the founding of Bitcoin, and you had some very interesting theories about that. So yeah, I was kind of quite
So
gripped.
what's your thought on my thesis?
I've been thinking about it, and I have always found the story of Bitcoin and Satoshi to be one of the most fascinating. To me, it's a little bit like UFOs. People are seeing them fly around every day, but no one seems to be stopping and going, "Wow, this is crazy." Why is this happening? The story of Satoshi is fascinating to me. I think it's interesting that the US government holds, I think, over 90% of the world's government's treasuries in Bitcoin. I think that's an interesting point to your theory.
Why would you hold something that you'd have no interest, right?
Exactly. I wish more people were talking about this. Yeah, I think it's fascinating.
But in a very back end, how do you see things like Genesis day one? Do you see this guy like an individual, like a real one guy sitting somewhere there in his room coding the entire network?
No, it's a romantic notion, I think.
Yeah.
It's a very romantic notion. I don't know. I kind of think that the cryptographers, the original cryptographers group, definitely had more to do with the creation of Bitcoin. I think it's very interesting that some of those notable cryptographers have taken their own life or passed away. I don't know if cryptography is a very depressing kind of, or whether, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's back to that original group. I think they had
of smart guys.
Bunch of smart guys, but they had a cool name. I can't remember what it was now. Was it crypto?
Pellini?
Was it CryptoPunks? Crypto. I don't know. I can't think of it now, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely they are CryptoPunks. They have to have this immense amount of passion behind, right? Just to spend years and years from your life dedicating endless hours to one topic only, right?
Absolutely. But they were really rebels, and I love that. That really appeals to my personality somehow.
And I don't think they started in terms of financial rewards as an end result. It's just a matter of changing something with impact, to have impact with their work at the global level.
Absolutely. And I think that they could foresee...
Which is beautiful. I mean,
It is
yeah.
beautiful. And I think that they could foresee a loss of privacy and a loss of data privacy, and the implications. And I think that they started to create a way out for us, potentially. So I think my money's on them.
Yeah. You come from Australia, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I was born in Sydney. And yeah.
How is Australia and crypto in general? People at the society level, are they seeing this as a huge potential? Like huge potential investment wise, or just a matter of there is some things there we can play with for fun.
Yeah, well, obviously it differs depending on who you speak to. But I think that definitely the Australian government is quite strict at regulating cryptocurrency. It's not very favourable for builders. Liquid crypto, where I'm working now, we were actually incorporated in Australia, but that's very rare. A lot of companies will go and incorporate in the Canary Islands or somewhere much more favourable, but we decided to stay and build there. I think the attitude to crypto is changing, as it is everywhere. But I think with Australians, it's still very much an outlier technology. Yeah, I think that people still view it as maybe a bit of fun. Although crypto Twitter has been taken over by a lot of Aussies lately. I've noticed there's a lot of projects kind of exploding, a lot of loud voices in the space. So that's really cool to see.
What is liquid crypto? Let's tell to people out there, like, what are you building and why you are different?
Yeah, well, liquid crypto is not my project, although I'm working with Liquid and I invested in the project. Chua Lee, our founder, or one of our founders, is originally from Thailand, but he's like a true blue Aussie. He speaks like Crocodile Dundee, and he's like, "Oh, like, how you going, mate?" He is really the reason that I invested. He is so passionate, like I am, about helping the everyday person interact with crypto in a way that is not overwhelming or confusing, and delivering a product that actually works. So, Chua and I have had this conversation, but, you talk to your mom or you talk to your friends, especially in our age group. I say our age group, I'm just going to say 35 to 55.
We're good.
And, DeFi is necessary, but it's so complicated and often doesn't work the way that it's supposed to. I think that Chua and I both see a lot of issues with centralized exchanges. There's a lack of transparency. They are not obligated to go out and acquire the tokens on your behalf with your fiat. So I think people think if they've invested in Ethereum or Bitcoin on the centralized exchange, that's what they are holding, but it's not necessarily true. And I think we saw that with FTX and a lot of other exchanges. So I think that DEXs have a massive role to play. They're becoming more popular since the crash of FTX, but they're so complicated. And the UI, the UX is often not a very good experience for the end user. So we just wanted to create something that was simple, it works the way that it should. We insure our swaps and bridges. So if you're supposed to receive, $100 worth of BNB, you actually get $100 worth of BNB. And it's fast. Because I'm sure, Danny, you've been around for a long time. You know what it's like to bridge a token and sit around and wait for minutes to hours, not knowing if that transaction is going to work.
And having that feeling of what's going on right now, because those bridges are actually the main reason of all the scams, because when the transactions involve this kind of applications, it's very exposed, to put it like that. So then for this exposure, it's a big temptation for big boys out there waiting
100%.
for mistakes
Bridges have a
of
bad
little deers coming to the drinking water lake, right?
100%. I think bridges have a bad rap in the industry, and understandably so. I think that, as you say, there's a great opportunity for being liquidity drainage and being scams. So, yeah, I guess Chua just couldn't find a product that he actually wanted to use and interact with, so he went out and just made his own. And I really respect that.
Yeah. In the same time, in my point of view, the entire industry, like to be the healthy one, it needs all the players. Like it also, as much as you can talk about centralized exchanges in a different point of view, I would say that we need also centralized exchanges,
Yeah.
but also decentralized exchanges are a must. And those that just are built in a way that are, as you mentioned, is a user-friendly experience. Make it super easy. Does the job. No hidden fees. No other negative aspects. And I think with the great communication in the community, is just a matter of time to be a very, very successful project, because the demand is so high.
I agree. I mean, I think crypto adoption at the moment is sitting at about 6.8%. So, we've
Yeah,
got a
imagine.
long way to go, and we're going to need those centralized exchanges. It's a fine line, Danny, I think, between transparency and holding people accountable, but also keeping our freedom, keeping our rebellious spirit about crypto. I think that that's a fine line that we're walking all the time.
I think that's the room where you were very well connected, right? As a person, like with this appetite for freedom, right?
Absolutely.
I think
it's
you are
true.
there in your natural habitat, right? When you experience this kind of feelings.
Yeah, definitely. I hate to be constrained, and I think that's what I really love. I don't have a degree in finance. I grew up in a household where nobody really knew anything about money, so I didn't get any great lessons passed down to me. But I'm still able to participate in crypto. And so while it comes with dangers, it's a bit like swimming in the shark-infested waters. At least I get a choice, and that's what I love about it. The financial world that I grew up in was so different. I'm sure that you know what I mean. Like, unless you had a financial manager or an investment banker that you could go to,
Which was not the case.
which was not the case.
Yeah.
How did you participate and make choices towards your own future? So whilst I've made many mistakes, I've enjoyed being able to make my own choices in crypto.
Where do you come from in terms of career? Like, what's your background?
I would class myself as a serial entrepreneur, a bit like you, I think. I left home when I was 16, so I grew up, like, I'm a real 90s baby, so I grew up, I had to get a job when I was 12, I never got pocket money or anything like that. And so by the time I was 16, I had this real feeling of independence already, probably a misguided feeling of independence, because when you're nearly 40 and you look back at your 16-year-old self, you think, oh my God, like, what was I doing? But I left home and I moved to Tokyo.
Wow.
So
I love Japan. It's absolutely destroyed my brain from A to Z. Is
you were just there, weren't
beautiful.
you?
Yeah. I was there like a month ago. Tokyo, Kyoto is just such a beautiful country.
It's the stuff of my fantasies, because I grew up like watching a lot of sci-fi, and I grew up with Ghost in the Shell, and so when I went there, it surpassed my fantasies. It was just incredible.
So you are an anime lover.
I love anime. Yeah.
Of course.
And yeah, so I moved to Tokyo, and I've kind of just been. I worked in fashion for a long time. I was modeling. Worked for a Japanese designer, Akira Sagawa, and yeah, anything I've had a passion for, I've kind of turned it into a business at one point. So I had a coffee shop. I had a gym. By the way, a great way to destroy your passion for something is to turn it into a business. But yeah, just kind of following my dreams. And eventually I had even a small hotel in Marrakesh, and I lived over there for a while.
Wow. That's a nice journey. That's
That
a very
was
nice journey.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those experiences are the ones that, you know, at one point when you say like, you know what, like, I'm cool. Like, you know, like going there for 3-4 years, then change the entire lifestyle, building another culture, even another. This is like, I believe this is the ultimate level of freedom. Like to have this.
It's the real Indiana
Access.
Jones kind of
Yeah.
walk the invisible plank feeling, where you have to have faith that you're going to get something out of this experience, but you can't quantify it at the time. You know, you just have to have faith first. And I think I was listening to a really interesting podcast the other day between Rich Roll. Do you ever listen to him?
Not. I don't think so.
He was talking to one of his guests about how faith is so important, and yet most of us aren't willing to have faith until something's proven to us. You know, so it turns the whole experience on its head, you know. So yeah, I guess I've had faith at different times. I've even had faith in crypto at different times, and you know, the experience or the situation didn't work the way that I wanted it to, but I'm still glad that I did it. And I think that that's a mindset of real builders.
Of course. And is that feeling, which is, in my opinion, priceless, when you take this kind of moves, I mean, like as a life level, right? You go say, you know what? I go there, like fly 5,000 kilometers, and then, you know, you just arrive in a totally different country, culture. You literally maybe you know 2-3 people, and that's it, and then start building, right? Like, how do you experience that? How is your internal, I don't know, conversation? Like, what's your approach in that moment?
I think that there's, I'm one of those people who I enjoy being with other people, but I also love being alone. And I love that internal struggle. You know, I'm also a runner, so I love the psychology of running. Actually, Murakami wrote a great book about it. What I tell myself when I think about, or what I think about when I think about running. I don't know if you've ever heard of that author, but it's very interesting. But yeah, there's that kind of internal journey or struggle that you're going through, like the hero's journey, you know, that you're alone and that you can handle whatever you come across. And when I moved to Marrakesh, I'd never even been there. Like I just looked on a map and I was like, what is the furthest place away from where I am that I can go to? The most exotic. And Marrakesh kind of fitted the bill. But when I arrived, I was so overwhelmed and so shocked by what I found there. It was nothing like what I had imagined in my mind. I think what I had imagined was a lot more like a magic carpet ride than what I encountered. But I knew that I was going to stay and enjoy and build something no matter what it was like. And I think that that's the difference.
And how long was that period?
I think I was there for a total of just under 2 years. So I wasn't there for that long. I've got a daughter.
But still, I mean, 2 years is a solid
Solid
time frame, yeah.
Yeah, Marrakesh I find is just a playground for adults, you know, who, but for children who are in high school, probably not as much. So I ended up going back to Australia for my daughter.
How do you see these things with self-conversation? Like, do you think it's one of the most important keys when it comes to confidence, self-confidence, the way how you talk to yourself.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to knowing that you can handle whatever life throws at you. I'm sure that that's the foundation of it for me, was just having to learn that. Many things have been thrown
But
at me.
where do you get that power from? Like, it's just an internal fire that is always there pushing you to not to quit?
Do you think
Or
it's
how do you
do you
build
think it's willingness to fail? Because fear of failure is very paralyzing. We all know that, but I think once you've got a few failures under your belt, you start to loosen up a bit with it, and you start to kind of make friends with failure a little bit. I think for me that's been key. I think not wanting to fail is very restricting.
Taking it like a part of the process, right? Like it is
An inevitable part of the process.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. I know so many people who want to be entrepreneurs or start their own business, but it's that analysis paralysis that really keeps them stuck in their room. I think if so many of those people could just take that step, fail a few times, they'd find they were ultimately successful. It's sad to see so many good ideas sitting on the shelf.
It's because they have the question is why they have these high expectations from day one. Like, no, I have to be successful. If it's not working in 3 months, oh my God, it means like something is totally wrong, or I'm not good, or why we start like this?
Do you think we're just really hard on ourselves? Do you think that we're so critical of ourselves? It's not how the world's seeing us, it's how the world's seeing us through our own eyes that we're most, we find the most excruciating, potentially. I think there's that, and I think there potentially is an element of, in 2024, so many people are selling us this idea that if we just follow their account or buy their product or listen to their podcast, or that we get a shortcut or a free pass from, the pain of existence, from the pain of struggle, of failure, of, that we get, a free pass. And I think that's very dangerous. I don't think there's any amount of money or any biohacking or any product that can help us escape from that. And that makes all of us very uncomfortable.
Yeah, in fact, in the back end, they just drive you far away from the place where you should start from building, right?
They sell you the soma to keep you happy and quiet.
Yeah, like biohacking, just eat less, bro. That's it.
Eat a vegetable.
That's it. You did like 95% of the job. Just eat way less than you do.
Yeah, or just eat less packaged poison and stop trading, your health for convenience.
I know you take care a lot about your body, and I don't know if people, but sure can see from your appearance, but I can confirm that you look great indeed.
Thanks.
How is this? Do you see, from my perspective, to be able to stay in the gym for a long time, it's a matter of acquiring one important skill, which is time management. Because when you talk to people, you say, why you don't go to gym? Why you don't train? I don't have time. This is like by default answer to what 100%. You get, right?
I think it's just about your priorities. If it's not a priority, you won't make it one. So I think when I get up in the morning, as I was saying to you over coffee, like I never think, am I going to train today? Or I think, where am I training? How long am I training for? Am I training once or twice? Like that's and then work flows around that. It's really high on my priority list. And then it's just consistency. There's no like magic formula to getting really fit except just doing it every day.
Exactly.
If you go every day, I think you'll be 90%
You're
fitter.
0.1% club.
Exactly. And if you don't eat too much, shit, then you're, even in the top, 5%. Like I think it's just purely consistency, like almost everything, in life.
How is this element of looking great, having a nice vibe at the personal level helps you in expanding your networking and being an attractive character for others?
I think the people that you meet who are also passionate about fitness and wellness also tend to be people who are quite passionate about entrepreneurship, or I meet a lot of really interesting people at the gym, just for starters. I think there's people who are willing to put in the hard work. You'll find them popping up in the gym, but also in your career or in your field. So I think that has something to do more with mindset than the actual body of the person. People who enjoy the grind.
It's a matter of being there in tough moments, right? Like even if you don't have that positive mindset, let's say, like that, to go all the time like I can't wait to hit the gym today. You have to do it. You have to go there and keep doing it, and that's it. And there is no other explanation. There is no other reason why will you be looking great after 2 years. There's
no
reason.
Shortcut.
Yeah.
Even myself, if I've been sick for a few weeks or for some reason, I injured myself and I couldn't train, I go back to the gym on day one knowing that there's no way out of this but the hard way. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be painful. I'm probably gonna feel like I'm gonna throw up when I hit that first CrossFit class. But I'm there to suffer. I'm showing up for the suffering. It's like you surrender to it. And I think when you try and work out and avoid the suffering, you're having a really hard, horrible time. I think you have to just embrace it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go a little bit farther till the last moment. Like the last moment being your perfect picture. What is there? Like, just paint yourself in your perfect picture.
It's an interesting question. It's something that I haven't defined yet. I'm not someone who has fantasies of sitting on, the beach in Fiji, getting a tan. That's never been me. It's not even the kind of holiday I like. If I go to Bali, I go for the CrossFit. I go for the suffering. So for me, it would be doing something that I love, that I'm really good at. I'd love to write a book. I'm a huge reader. I think I've told you that. I'd love to writing. I'd love to, be incredibly challenged by something. I think I like to stay in the struggle. So if I see my perfect picture, it's going to involve hard work and struggle in there. But, I'd love to go back to try challenging myself, like maybe move to another country, like live on a houseboat in Amsterdam, or go back to Tokyo for a few years and, really get good at Japanese and sink. There's just nothing that can beat the feeling of just going somewhere totally foreign where you feel like you've stepped onto an alien planet.
But do you think that can be accelerated in terms of feeling if you do all these things alone?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a really good question. I mean, obviously I have a family to think of and people, so it's not the hero's journey anymore. Once you have a family, you probably know that it's you go together. But But I love tasks or things that take my solitude. It takes just my time to accomplish them, you know.
I mean, if you go now, just, I don't know, tell me one country you've never been to. Like, I don't know.
Well, like, I mean, I've been, but
Czech, like in Prague. Have you been to Prague?
I haven't been to Prague.
Okay.
Tell me about Prague.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go to Prague.
Okay, next week you go to Prague and spend there like a week alone.
Mm-hmm. What am I doing?
Yeah, like who is Lisa in Prague?
I'm going to the galleries. I'm going to the art galleries, and going to the bookstores. That's where you'd find me, I think. But yeah, there's a part of me that also, you know what it's like
reading romantic books, or what kind of books?
No. I mean, look, I love all kinds of books. I think it's too easy in 2024 to get caught up in the self-help section or the career advancement or hack this or hack that and do it as fast as you can. For me, that takes all the pleasure out of reading, even though I enjoy that genre as well. In fact, I was just rereading Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money. Have you read it? Yeah. And they're really enjoying it. But he's a great storyteller. But yeah, I think you're missing half the point if you don't read fiction. For me, I know that I've only got this one lifetime to live. Even if I travel and even if I spend a week in Prague, I can only see it from my point of view. And that terrifies me. So, you know, when I read fiction, I love that feeling of I'm downloading someone else's point of view or someone else's experience that I probably would never have. And I find that very valuable. I don't see it as wasting time, you know, when I read fiction.
And how do you filter that? Do you have any layer of self-protection, like to avoid the thing where, as you mentioned, just I'm installing someone else's opinions in my algorithm, but without filtering, without giving a certain time frame to see if it's really like that. Maybe after 2 months, I won't agree anymore with that.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think it's just staying very open-minded and grounded, but just willing to keep expanding. You know, I think like I don't know if you're very active on Twitter, but if you are, I think you can really feel the way that social media can easily, via an algorithm, can take us down this path or take us down that path. You know, so I find reading a much safer, more neutral ground to just take on ideas without being algorithmed down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's super obvious right now for everyone that those applications have been built with this reason only, to be consumed, right? As much as we can possibly, even 24 hours endlessly. And they just feeding you all the time with your
more of what you
your
want.
interest, right? The
what,
more cars you watch, the more cars you'll see,
yes,
and stuff like that.
More of what it thinks you want to see or hear. Yeah. So reading is a great antidote to that. You know, at the moment I'm reading Letters to Yves, which is the love letters that Pierre Berger wrote Yves Saint Laurent after he had died, you know. And then he talks about the art that they collected together, and they also absolutely love Marrakesh. So they talk about the wild hedonistic kind of parties that they had in Morocco. And so reading something like that is just like, you know, such a departure from.
Do you want to enter in that mind who has last moments to see what kind of experiences they have, like at that particular moment when they know that, okay, that's it, I'll be gone in one day, or I don't know, like.
Yeah, well,
What will be the conversation with that person?
that's an interesting question, because I don't think that Pierre Berger told Yves Saint Laurent that he was going to die. I think that he had brain cancer and he just kept it from him. So it's interesting that you asked that, because I don't think Yves Saint Laurent knew he was going to die. But what I find interesting about that book in particular is this idea of writing to someone after they're not here anymore, and what you tell that person, you know. And the way that you look back on your relationship, but you then can't convey all those feelings of regret or sadness or pleasure because that person's not here anymore. So I'm enjoying that. You know, you can. I think I picked it up at the Yves Saint Laurent Museum in Marrakesh. So
Then you become a better person in that day. You have that feeling that, you know what, I have to
yeah,
position myself in a different perspective when I'm around.
take a small piece of Pierre Berger's minds with me for that day. You know. What about you, Danny? What do you like to read?
I read a lot about mindset, all
yeah.
those books from, The Magic of Thinking Big, one of my favorite. I think there is a sort of foundation when it comes to self-development and mindset. One of my favorite books, which I come back to them at least once a year to read some particular articles or stuff like that, which I think will be helpful to me to reinforce that all the time.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to do it in this day and age, right? To kind of keep your edge. It's like you have to be constantly devouring these books.
Yeah, and I found very efficient the method that you just go back to the same 5 books, and I'm a huge fan of Atomic Habits. Like,
yeah.
you need to start literally
Was that James
from
Clear?
James Clear. You need to start from the roots, right? Like, how is your day looking like? Like, okay, you have those kind of things which are not good, right? You need to. You don't need to cut them. You don't need to delete. You just need to replace them.
Yeah.
Because if you, you spend 3 hours on Instagram, right? And then
how did you see that about me?
you want to take that bad habit, let's say, right? But you need to put something else in that 3 hours. Because if you just, I'll take your phone and then I will let you look at the wall for 3 hours, this is not working, right?
100%.
So the foundation is in habits.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's where, when we were talking about fitness,
Yeah,
I was trying to say it's
huge, exactly.
It's not because, I have more willpower. I don't. Or I have great genetics, I just show up because it's scheduled into my day and I just do it.
Yeah.
Whether I want to do it, if I don't want to do it. My mum will say to me things like, you can't work out today, you're sick. But Mum, if I sat on my backside, then I wouldn't be fit.
They don't understand the pleasure of this self-development, right?
yeah.
Like, because you know that if you have a tough day and you hit the gym and you do like heavy legs, for example, you are a real motherfucker, like,
You walk out feeling
you are
like
a
a
big
badass.
winner in that day, like, and it's a huge brick on your mindset if you act like that.
Yeah, I agree. It's almost a foundation. I can't imagine any other self-discipline kind of falling into place unless you can get those few cornerstones right. I've actually, when I was in the fitness industry, I saw so many people change their whole mindset shifted the minute they realized that they could lose that weight, or I never thought I could do that, but I did it. I just watching their whole life up level.
Yeah, and
they went for a new job. They got, new friends, new habits, new partner. Like everything started to change for them.
And then they look back and say, like, why did I wait so long? Like, They don't
Fear-
even recognize themselves as the last version, right?
Fear of failure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't matter from which version you're starting from, like as an individual. You might have a lot of bad habits, a lot of, like almost zero skills. Let's say you have no, you're not expert in something, right? But it's always, okay, it'll take longer, but as long as that's your journey, right? You start from -10, your best version will be, I don't know, you just reach 2, right? From 1 to 10, let's say like that, the scale. I mean, that means you are super successful, right? Because you came from so far.
Yeah, I think that's really what I was talking about with the having faith. The confidence comes at the end. So if you have faith in yourself, and okay, I know nothing about this, but I'm willing to try, or I'm willing to move, or I'm willing to do X, Y, Z. The confidence always comes at the end, and usually after lots of failure in the middle.
Of course. Confidence comes from competence, in my opinion.
From competence.
Yes, from competence. Like in the moment that you feel that you are good at something, and then you are recognized being good at something by, builders, your networking society at the end, right? Then it comes in a place where you are like, okay, I can talk about this 2 weeks nonstop.
You feel worthy as well. You feel
you are
like
confident
you've
to jump on conversations. Your input is valuable. Everybody is silenced when you talk, and this kind of things is like, okay, now
feels good.
you feel like you are worthy, like.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's why I like talking to people like you, Danny, because you're like me. You came into crypto. You didn't necessarily have a degree in finance or anything. You just said, hey, here's something. I'm interested in this and I'm going to go and check it out. And you've spent enough time in the space to really...
Yeah, of course. To me, it was a shift from because I came from e-commerce. I had businesses on Amazon. And there you are really like 100% entrepreneur all the time, because you have 100 ropes, from designers to copywriters to you handle all these things, right? Advertisements and stuff. But then when I came to the blockchain and investments, I found totally different brains, like super next level to me, to my version at that time. And that was fascinating. Like I met people, they were doing 100 times than me in one day. Like I was
just blown away.
Yeah, so I said, no, I want to build here. Like I want to have this brain. I want to think like this, to to have this kind of vision. And it was just I discovered another kid, like I was, yes.
Crypto and the blockchain really appeals to the kid in me. There's something about it, like you can build these kind of crazy projects, where you got to buy a cowboy NFT to enter, and you get to be a sheriff, and you get, there's a very serious side to it, and of course there's this incredibly kind of fun part where you just get to play, and that's what I love about it.
Do you think, Lisa, it's like almost, I will say almost, but everything is a sort of conversation with you at the 5 years old, 10 years old? Everything is rooted there. Like, as you mentioned, now you like NFTs with cowboys. Why? Because you like horses. Why?
Yeah.
Because you grew up with your grandfather, which was taking care about horses or something like that. Everything has these roots attached.
If you're the sort of person that's constantly searching for meaning, then I think yes. If you're in touch with yourself enough that you look for meaning in what you do and how you experience life, then I do. I think that even in the psychology of money, at the point that, or part of the point that he's making is, how we interact with finance has so much less to do with math and what we learned in a classroom than it does to do with who our parents were, when we grew up. If we grew up in the Great Depression versus 2024 is going to influence how we interact with our finances so much more than what you got taught in year 2 by your maths teacher. And that makes complete sense to me. So I think that absolutely, I'm a heat-seeking missile for nostalgic experiences. I can never quite put my finger on why something appeals to me so much, but I feel it, So
how do you see money? What's money for you?
I think for me, it changed. Obviously, it changes over time. We didn't have financial stability when I was young. I grew up in what I would describe as lower middle class. We never owned a home or anything. So I saw a lot of the people around me, most of them had more than what we had. But, as a kid, you don't care about that stuff. You care about surfing, hanging out with your friends, depending on where you're from. You don't
When you had your first money, did you buy a house? Like you had that because of what you mentioned. You had that feeling of
you've got
property. Like I need to have my own house, my own apartment.
Security becomes very important to you. Exactly. And then when you have children, of course, your attitude to money changes again. So it's interpreting all of that data and kind of what the output is. My, risk profile has changed over time, but what doesn't? I watched this very funny comedian the other day saying, like, when he was in his 20s, your friends call you and say, do you want to go out tonight? And you're like, yeah, grab my coat and, let's do it. And that was me. Like I was a 90s raving, clubbing baby. And then in your 30s, the same question and you're like, where are we going? And is there parking? And then by your 40s, you're like, no, I'm not doing it. Yeah. I'm not going. And I'm mad that you would even ask me. I'm staying home. Yeah. So I think, your attitude to money obviously changes as you get older. In some ways it becomes more important. In other ways it becomes less important because you see that it's not going to fix the thing that you thought it was going to.
I think with money is a very simple game. Like it's important when you don't have them. When you have them, there is not about money anymore.
Absolutely.
Like you have the feeling that all things that you like there is no money attached there. Okay, money is a tool that brings you all these kind of things to have access to, but things that matter, they have no money implications. Like
you have.
And then you go like, I thought something else. Like
I thought, this isn't how what I thought it was going to be.
When it comes to money, which options would you pick? Have $1 million in 6 months or 20 million in 10 years?
$1 million in 6 months.
Why?
Coming from the crypto space, you book your profits. Danny, you know that. That's like rule number 1. Because in 7 years, I don't know. There's a lot of variables. And I think that in crypto, you try and control.
I mean, if we can put it in sort of guaranteed, would you be willing to wait like 10 years for like higher rewards, or you are like, show me the money and we go?
Oh, if it was guaranteed, then obviously I would pick the patient option. Patience is absolutely key in this game as well. I think we were discussing the other day the DCA Bitcoin strategy, which is still my favorite strategy. And if anyone who doesn't know much about crypto says to me, give me some advice, first I say, please no, don't ask me for advice, I can't. But, if I were to give someone advice, I think that buying small amounts of Bitcoin regularly and not selling when the price drops is probably some of the best advice I've seen work the most consistently. So yes, if there were guarantees, I would pick the larger sum. But if I'm living in this crypto cowboy Wild West, I take the $1 million in 6 months. I don't take the promise of a founder that I'll get 30 million in 7 years.
And what will be the reward level? Like, what Lisa will buy for Lisa when you have the feeling that you achieve something and you deserve it? What kind of rewards do you give to yourself?
I would probably go on a 2-month vacation to somewhere really remote and give myself time. Time where I tell everyone I knew I'm turning my phone off, or at the very least, I'm just going to check my messages once a day. And just give myself more of that kind of time. Not time like I've got
disconnect.
Disconnected time. Not like I've got an assistant and someone washes my clothes and all of that. Dubai is fantastic for all of that, but real quality time, I think, is what money buys.
To have that feeling that you spend more time with you.
Yeah. Quiet time with you, not time on your phone I think I just feel in this modern era that I feel constantly plagued by this sense that I should be doing something. And I love to just switch that off for a little bit. I should be going to the gym. I should be working harder. I should check my messages on Telegram for the 50th time today because in crypto, Danny, that Telegram is just popping off constantly. I would just like to not have that feeling for a month or two. That's wealthy. That's wealth.
To reevaluate yourself, kind of to see how you manage things in all this period, and who is Lisa after all this experience. You want to go back internally if everything has changed or not.
Absolutely.
Or how, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't think I would buy myself a car. I would honestly just give myself that space.
That's beautiful.
There's no car that...
It's a very nice journey, right? All these internal trips and mental conversations that you keep talking there, you keep talking, and then suddenly you find that those talks are different now, and you talk with different person because you can't apply the same rules anymore because you have that voice. No, I don't want to go there. You may say, okay, you have changed. Nice.
Yeah. It's such a great feeling.
Yeah.
What about you, Danny? What would you buy if the big win came in? You bought Shiba Inu, and it went from... I think the best crypto deal of all time is rumored to be something like if you'd bought $13,000 worth of Shiba Inu, be worth $5 billion at the end point. But, it doesn't have to be that big. But what do you do when you make that big crypto bet and it pays off?
I think in a very concrete way, I think I will go to Africa. I'll go to Africa and spend time with in those villages.
That's so cool.
I just want to play football with those kids. All these things.
But there must
feeding elephants, whatever I can do there. Hopefully they...
Sounds nice.
Yeah, I think I will spend a lot of time in the nature. Or I'll go to Japan.
Oh, yeah.
And just, live with... one family, or in a very traditional way. I would just want to
live this very
reach
ascetic,
a level to drink a tea, and that's it.
Ascetic lifestyle.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? I'm the same. The more money, the more ascetic I feel like I could become, more monk-like.
Yeah. And then I don't know, because I'm the type of person which I can say that I get bored fast. If I think I can do it for a short period of time, I will enjoy a lot, will be amazing. But if you put me to stay there for 5 years, I'm not sure. At one point, I need to come back to, to meet you, to talk, to have traffic, to a little bit of, events, these kind of things.
It's the contrast that I quite like. So doing that maybe for... Note I said 2 months as well. I was like, I would like to do this for 2 months. And then, go to New York and eat at the restaurants and,
absolutely.
feel the vibe of the crowd. I'm the same. I love the contrast, but I like to be fully in what I'm doing.
Yes, and definitely I will access luxurious lifestyle. That's also me. I think it's important to position yourself at this level of reward, to have access to high end stuff, whatever it is, right? Because it can be in so many ways, the luxury,
For
but
sure.
it's
The
important
best
as
cup
well.
of green
Yeah,
tea in Japan or the
yeah,
best glass of champagne
yeah,
at the Ritz, it's all beautiful,
yeah, yeah.
if you enjoy it.
That's
So
me, but that's both. I can't say
same.
that I want only one, but definitely I like both. Like,
No, and definitely not by force.
oh, absolutely,
Again,
yeah,
I have
yeah.
to choose it, but yeah, yeah.
Well, Lisa, of course, we can talk endlessly. It's always a pleasure.
I feel like I
That
just got
was the
here.
reason to have you here, because our conversations are always at this level where I enjoy a lot.
Yeah,
And
me too.
that's a wrap for today.
Oh.
Just tell to people, please, where they can find you, your
Uh,
LinkedIn accounts, any.
yes,
Yeah.
so Lisa Belden. I'm just me. I'm me on Twitter as well, exploring crypto Twitter and playing there. So you can find me there. And yeah, I hope to make contact with some of your viewers if they have any interesting questions or comments they'd like to make.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much again,
Thanks,
and
Sunny.
I hope to see you building great things around, and for sure we'll keep in touch.
You will. Thanks,
Yes.
Sunny. Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys for watching, and appreciate your time today. Please drop us a comment, and don't forget to subscribe, smash the like button, and follow us on all major platforms. Iron Capital News. Thank you very much for watching. See you again in the next one. That's it.
God, that went so fast.